Yeah.
It's decent. I think in Utah it's relative, right? We measure drives by time and not by distance. And
That's
when you live where I live, if you're used to it. Like it's just you don't even blink at you turn on a podcast and you just go.
that's right. What main one is out of? You're all the way out in. Is it Heber?
Camas, so
Camas.
close. Yeah.
Oh, so not too far.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
too far. We
not a
kind of,
drive at
yeah,
all
just the
there.
Wasatch back. We consider it's a big clump. Like when you think like Midway, Heber, Camas, Park City, we're all kind of that Summit County. Like
Yeah,
it's all so spread out. We just think it's all the same.
you've got the Summit County thing going on. We've
Yes,
got the Wasatch Front, which encompasses what, like 20
so
cities,
much. Yeah,
something like that. But it's all Salt Lake,
yeah,
naturally, of
yeah.
course,
Well, and
right?
that's I
Yeah.
grew up here, so like I'm super like
Oh yeah.
just dialed in with all this stuff. So this is all normal. Like
Oh,
like I'm a born and raised Utah boy. So
that's awesome. Where did you grow up?
Sandy,
Sandy. Okay,
yeah,
so you're local almost.
local.
Well, we're in South
Technically,
Jordan.
yeah. I actually, so when I first got married, I actually moved out to Harriman when it was still
Oh yeah.
kind of like podunk, like a little, like there was barely any houses. And now I drive out there and I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's
Oh
a
yeah.
new high school and like all this stuff. But that was 13 years ago that I lived out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's developed a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of I remember coming out here with family out in West Jordan,
yeah,
right? And all of this area was basically filled. I
yeah.
mean, I remember coming out and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I remember coming out and shooting
Yeah.
and camping,
Oh,
and there was a
that's
boys' camp
yeah.
and
That's what I
everything,
mean.
right?
Even like 114th didn't even go past that Walmart. I mean, the
Yeah,
Walmart wasn't there forever, but it never went past that. It didn't connect. I
yeah.
remember how big of a deal it was when it finally came through.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I also remember the construction,
Oh my gosh.
which for anybody who isn't local, the construction is basically a parking lot
Uh-huh.
half the time. So getting out where I live, out in
Yep.
Daybreak, it's always an adventure.
Yeah. Isn't that like
So
the
yeah,
Utah tree is the orange cone? Isn't that like
Y-
the
yeah,
that's
I'm pretty sure we've
that
adopted that
we
now.
adopted that, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure we adopted that like what 2001.
Yeah, it's not a maple, it's not an aspen, it's an orange cone.
Beautiful, beautiful. Take a nice hike through the
Oh yeah, it's great. It's
the cone.
yeah, you'll never run out.
No, never, never. So, okay. So, oh, I have to preface this. We're at the KW South Valley Keller Williams studio here in beautiful South Jordan, Utah. I have to do that for compliance
Oh yeah,
reasons.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So, got to make sure, because I'm an agent too,
Yeah,
and
so
so
you
I've
have
got
to
to,
disclose that stuff. I
yeah,
get it. I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
anything, having to do with it, of course, naturally. Okay, main one.
Yes.
Tell me, what are you doing?
Man, we're doing a lot of stuff.
I know
Yeah.
you've been crazy busy. You've been doing really well though.
Yeah, growing space, right? So our core pillars of what we do is influence marketing. I think like this year, it's something like it's 20 something billion that's going to be spent in the industry this year. It's going to like I think on pace to do like 30 at some point in a couple years.
Just a little,
Just
yeah,
having good money,
tiny bit.
right? And so there's a lot of opportunity, which is really exciting. I've been in the space for quite a while, so it's nice to kind of be ahead of that curve. Caught the influencer marketing piece early. I came from social media, came from marketing, and so that's one of our core things. Also helping creators build brands, which is
Mhm.
another cool opportunity. These creators that are trying to go beyond just social media,
Oh
and they
yeah,
turn
yeah.
social media into more of just like the marketing arm of a larger brand. And so that's something else that we're helping them kind of learn and focus on and build into. And that's really cool because then you have a chance to invest in, help them grow, but also be a partner in that
Wow,
aspect too.
that's really cool. So it is a partnership.
Hmm.
You're really stepping into a role to be able to help these influencers step out of themselves,
Yep.
if that makes sense,
Yep.
and really become a partner with these larger brands.
Yes,
So
which is really cool, and create your own brands, which is
yeah,
that's also huge because usually like an influencer creator, whatever you want to call them, they
yeah,
have kind of like a prime time of about 5-ish years.
yeah,
And so if you don't take advantage of that springboard, because it's a really cool springboard, and like when you have attention, you have a lot of attention, but to capitalize on that, otherwise you kind of miss the boat, and then you're kind of always just living along, which is
mhm,
unfortunate that you see a lot of creators get to that point because they weren't aware of how to do things or like build a larger business, or they thought that this is going to be forever, right? And it's
yeah,
not necessarily the case. And so that's something we also help them do, is kind of springboard and do it as something larger, to where if you don't want to do social at some point, evolve into more of just like an executive at a brand and a company you own, great. If you want to continue to do that just because you love it, also great. So
Awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think we lost our lights about
Yeah.
halfway through that. I was deeply entrenched in what you were saying, though. That's really cool that you really do take an invested interest in the influencers that you're working with,
Yes.
and you help them build their own brand. I think for anybody who is completely lost right now as far as what they do, um, I mean, it's pretty easy to follow,
Yeah.
honestly. But think Mr. Beast. I mean, that's a really big
That's
example.
as big as it gets, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but like building the brand,
Mhm.
building something outside of just
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
posting
a
on
good
TikTok.
case because one of his biggest things is Feastables, right? Like that chocolate bar.
Yeah,
That he's, I
yeah.
mean, it's massive. I was actually just listening to a podcast that he did a couple months ago about how big it is. There you go, the lights
There
are
we go. Hey, it's back on.
back. It was, yeah,
For
it was
motion censored
really
lighting.
intense moment.
We were deeply entrenched in this for
Yes.
just a minute there. Yeah.
But no, so that's a great example because I mean, Jimmy's at a different level where his stuff still, and it's gonna do it for, like, he has the Beast Games that he just did, but like Feastables is
Which was
his,
cool.
yeah, it was way good, and I'm
Yeah.
so stoked they have like a season 2 and 3 that is already going because I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah, it's great. But Feastables is kind of that transcending into the CPG, the consumer packaged goods space,
Yeah.
and that's where you can become like, especially with his marketing, right? Because it is a marketing platform
It
now,
is. Yeah.
and
It
like if
really is.
most of his stuff is gearing toward, especially Feastables, it talks about Feastables almost every time. You even saw it on Beast Games, like there was Feastables branding. um but that's like a really, like a unicorn example of, you don't have
Really
to, yeah,
unicorn
very
example. That's a
like
huge
one
example.
of one, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but that's a good example of what we try and help creators do, maybe on a smaller scale, right? Like, not ever, you don't have to be Mr. Beast to have a successful brand.
Yeah.
You can have a smaller brand and actually still really, really crush business.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of, I you're going to kid yourself if you think that that's a common thing to achieve at that
Oh
scale,
yeah.
but you
Yeah.
can still scale things to a point where it's very successful, right? And sometimes you can even make an exit. I think, I'm talking in macro levels right now, but you just saw,
Beautiful.
Haley Bieber, Justin Bieber's wife, just sold her cosmetic brand for like $1 billion.
Yeah.
Was it to Elf or something like
I
that?
think it was. I,
Yeah,
I could be totally wrong, but I think it was Elf.
yeah, and it's
So
like she capitalized, used that as, like, again, the marketing arm, and then she built it and used her personality and her brand, and then just flipped it for $1 billion, which is insane. Like,
oh yeah.
holy cow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Not common,
No, not
by the way.
common.
Not common. Don't expect
But
to start a brand next year and sell it for $1 billion
no, unless you
the
get
year
married to
after.
Justin Bieber, then that's,
Oh,
a
perfect.
leg
Yeah.
up, right?
Then
So
you get to leverage his platform in a way
exactly.
by association, of
Yes,
course, right? Yeah.
definitely. But
By all
those are
means.
good frameworks, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, look at what's possible, and I mean, you can just, scale it down, or not scale it up, because those are pretty big, but you can scale
Yeah.
it down and follow kind of that similar framework.
Yeah. Well, I'm a data analytics nerd.
Yeah,
When
I
I
love it.
say a data analytics nerd, I mean I'm compiling. I studied quantitative behavioral analytics
There
and
you go. Yeah.
psychometrics. For the people that don't know who that is, which is 95% of the population,
Yep.
that is determining behaviors based off of data that you can quantify. So say you're going into a store, for
Yeah.
instance, and you buy the same thing every Tuesday and it shows on your bank records. You can quantify down to the day and the time frame, at least, that that person is going to go in and be able to determine those behavioral patterns based off of whether micro or macro data. You can still determine those things.
Yeah.
Jimmy has that down
Oh,
packed.
that dude's a machine. Like, actually, like, you have,
Wow.
like, he's like a computer in like
Yeah.
a person. It's
Yeah.
insane. He knows human behavior.
Oh,
It's
it's
kind of crazy.
insane.
Online human behavior, right? Like, that's one of, it's like, that dude is
Yeah.
obsessed with it. And that's why he succeeds, right? Like, and it's
Yeah.
cool to watch.
Well, I love what you guys do, though. Go into what's kind of your process. What do you do
Yeah. So,
for your
like I
brand?
said, the core pillar right now, because like the branding is like, it's case by case, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, can we build a larger brand? And it's a longer term thing where it's like, what is your brand? And you go through this whole exercise, right? Where it's like, what would even be resonate with your audience, and like, how would you grow it? There's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So the main core pillar is influencer marketing, right? And so that is where, well, and sorry, I'm digressing, but another piece is
Love
also
it.
helping them grow their social media brand.
Mhm.
So those are kind of the two pieces because they go hand in hand. Like the bigger, more powerful your like your presence and your influential capacity is on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, even Snapchat, like all these different places.
Yeah.
The better the opportunities are to work with other brands that are already established, right? So that's influencer marketing, where essentially a brand utilizes in the same way that they would utilize any other marketing, avenue, like a I say billboard, radio, digital ad space, all these different things. Influencer marketing is just another leg of that.
Yeah.
And so they will capitalize on the attention that an influencer has with their audience to promote their product and to sell their product, those types of things. So that's influencer marketing and like a very fancy sounding thing. Essentially, it's like a brand is you hear like collab, like a brand like will collab with an influencer or they'll sponsor a video or a post or things like that. So that's our main thing that we focus on because it is something that it provides a really good income for creators that have see again we're very intense.
It's going very intense now, guys.
It's good
Everything is
mood
very
setting.
in. We're setting the mood for something. Uh,
um, but yeah, so they'll sorry, I lost the train of thought. It was so intense. I got lost there for a sec. But no, so they'll utilize these influencers and they're gonna it's a good source of income for the influencers. And so that helps them not only continue to do what they're doing, but kind of double down on the content to
yeah.
grow it and do it better. So you'll see that. I mean, heck, we're talking about Mr. B. So like we'll just use him as an example. You go back to his early videos when he was like just a kid in North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he
Yeah.
was like, "How long does it take to count to 100,000?" Right? That was a video of his, and he
Yeah.
like it's like those like. But then now you see what it's progressed to, where he like exceeded $100 million budget with Amazon.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's like, but that started piece by piece, and brand sponsorships are one of those key things where it's you can reinvest into content
Mhm.
and do bigger and better things, which help you grow the content and make it better, which is this nice cycle of content growth and income, and then you can really grow something from it.
I love it. Yeah. Well, and a lot of brands, and speaking from experience, because I've been on the other side of this,
Yeah.
right? Looking for influencers and looking for people that have an existing base to tap into.
Yeah.
A lot of brands are looking for personality types. They're looking at their following. They're
Yeah.
looking at every facet of it. Are these people that bring in a following that is actually going to buy my product?
Yeah.
Right. And from my understanding, you really help cultivate a lot of that to be able to help position them for
Oh,
that growth.
absolutely.
So
Yeah. And
it's
you can
huge.
kind of go two routes with brands where it's like, do you want to double down? Are you doing really well on the target audience that you have and you want to find
Yeah.
more of that same target audience? Or are you experimenting and seeing who else your brand and your product could resonate with? Right. So there's kind of those two, there's the testing side of things where it's like, maybe our product does really well with moms in their 30s, but maybe at the same time, we should target males like dads in their 30s and just see
Yeah.
what happens. And sometimes it flops and it's like, oh, that didn't work, let's like continue to poke but also go back to our core audience. And other times it's opens a huge door. So for instance, like I'll give you a specific one because it's here in Utah. Minky Couture.
Oh yeah.
I work with Minky Couture, and there was a
I love those guys.
yeah, and they have I
Yeah.
mean just looking at their branding, like their billboards and everything like that. But I have like 25 blankets, so I love them too. Like they're fantastic. They're the best. But so they have like this target market that they've had for a long time, and they've been established here in Utah forever. But when I was working with them last November-ish, like Black Friday-ish,
Oh yeah.
said, hey, why don't we try a male audience and position this as a gift for their significant other, for their wife, for their girlfriend, for something like that? And they're like,
Love it.
let's give it a shot, right? Like it's not gonna kill us to do this and try it because again, we gotta like we have our target, we know this works. Let's
Yeah.
see what else works. And
I
it
love
crushed.
companies like
Oh,
that.
it was
Oh,
they're the best because they're always open to like it, and it's my favorite thing because they're actually like willing to try and listen, whereas some brands are just like, this is what we do, and
oh
it's
yeah.
just this pattern and things like that. But and it ended up crushing to where they're like,
Oh
oh,
wow.
hold up, let's who else can we find that's like this?
Yeah.
Because that's a great positioning, right? And I'm just like, okay, I probably gave away a little bit of a strategy there, but
Not too much though.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
really didn't like give away the individual
Yeah,
strategy, so you're
100%.
good.
Yeah, so
I
it's
think you're in the clear just in case
yeah,
they're
it's
watching. He's okay.
love you
I
guys.
promise.
So, but yeah, so it really did well, and so
Yeah.
we're like it's really cool just because they're so open to trying new things, and then you find
Yeah.
these opportunities. So it was a really cool experience there, and that's kind of the two facets, right? Where then I also work with them on their core audience stuff because
Oh,
you just
nice.
find new people that target that same audience because the a general rule of marketing is that it takes 7 exposures for someone to convert
Yeah.
or to make a
Yeah.
purchase, things like that. And so positioning them in multiple places where that same audience is running into, eventually like, okay, I get it, you guys are awesome, I'm going to buy a blanket.
Yeah.
So that's those are kind of the two different approaches we take with brands when it comes to working with influencers.
Yeah, I love that because yeah, the seven rule of seven,
Yeah,
right? On average,
yeah,
it takes 7 exposures, sometimes longer. Like
yep,
after they've initially been captured, then I mean it could be 30 videos for
yep.
all you know, but it all depends on the audience.
Yeah, well, and I think
But you're
that's
twisting
why
it.
TikTok Shop crushes, and I think everyone's like, "Why does
Oh,
TikTok Shop do so well?" And I think it's because
yeah.
the volume that you go through, you're getting those average 7 exposures faster,
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
like on Instagram or YouTube, it's a lot slower pace. I mean, now Instagram has Reels and like it's
Yeah.
kind of on, but still, Instagram's commerce isn't set up like TikTok Shop. It's not there, and so I think that's why TikTok Shop, like brands that figure that out, because I'm like, you
Oh
literally
yeah.
get exposed probably in the course of 30 minutes versus 30 days of that 7 plus exposures. Because
Yeah.
I've bought so much stuff on TikTok
Oh,
Shop.
oh yeah. I had to take my card off of
I
there
know it's
because
dumb, and now you have
it's
Apple
expensive.
Pay, and it's like, oh, I don't need my card. Like, sure, I'll just do Apple Pay.
That's
It
dangerous.
is.
That is really dangerous. I try to avoid that as
It's
much as
so bad.
possible.
Yeah, I've
But
gotten
yeah,
caught a few times where it's like I even bought like because they do the like, UGC stuff like with the
yeah.
TikTok Shop. There's like a couple of fun kid board games because I mean everyone has your data, right? Like it's
Oh
just
yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah.
TikTok knows I have 3 kids, and so it's like it always serves me like fun kids board games or things. I'm like, man, that looks fun. So then I'll like buy it, and then it shows up, and we're playing with it. I'm like, they got my number, like they know that.
They know at that point. It's when they start serving you things for baby stuff that maybe you should
Oh
be
my gosh,
concerned.
yeah. That's
Because
yeah,
I'm just
wait.
saying, like, sometimes it seems like they just
Dude,
know
Target used to be
it's
really
bad.
good at that too. Like
Oh yeah.
Target was, that there was a time when because I think like before social really took hold because it's only been taking a hold since like 2019, 2020, like
Yeah.
really in depth. Like Target was like notorious for that. Where I think there was a story where someone found out that like their wife was pregnant before the wife told them because they
Yeah.
sent baby stuff like promotions to her. There's
Yeah.
some, I don't know if that's
I
made
heard
up, but
about
I
that.
remember hearing something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, but that's everywhere now.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
And it kind of creeps me out.
a little bit.
Even though
Yeah, you're like, cool, good. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it, but I hope I'm not served anything for me to stop
Yeah, you're like,
or anything else, right? Yeah. Oh man, no, yeah. And you can only delete your data so much.
oh my
I mean,
gosh.
it's openly available.
Yeah, and you try so hard. There's even like I literally have like brand partners that we work with that actively
Yeah.
like go out and delete your data online.
Oh,
And it's there's I mean, every time you make a transaction, like at this point, anytime you drive somewhere, right? Like it's insanity. The fact that I
yeah.
sit in my car and I turn it on and it's like, hey, are you going to the gym? And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, I am. This is like I hate this.
Yeah, like my GPS, for instance, it has down to the day and the time.
Yep.
I can put in the GPS and it'll have like, my exact location that I'm going to
The
down.
recommended, yeah.
This is the quantitative data analytics part, which I appreciate,
Yeah.
and I also simultaneously
Oh,
hate
100%.
at
Yep.
the same time.
No,
So,
it's you feel
yeah,
you're like,
wow.
this is icky. I don't like it, but like it's useful. I get it.
But I also love it. Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay, so what exciting things are you working on right now? Are you working with anybody right now that you're really excited about that you can talk about? I don't want to
Yeah, no, I
get you
get
in
it.
trouble
Yeah.
here.
I think so. A lot of creators like, oh, there we
Oh,
go.
hey, there
Back
we go.
lighten the mood a little bit.
Boy.
No, we're really running into a lot of creators that have, needs for this stuff. And
Yeah.
it is still like a really new space. And so I think, I've talked to you before about how there's a low barrier to entry into the space. And so
Yeah.
sometimes creators will have a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to working with agencies, because
Oh yeah.
anyone can start a website, anyone can claim that they know a brand or like all that, right? It's not
I'm a
like,
genius.
yeah, it's
It
crazy.
doesn't
But
make you so.
like if I started from zero, I could like stick build an agency in like 36 hours. Like it's
Yeah.
not hard to like, it's just there's not a lot there to block you from doing that. So you run into a lot of creators that are like, this is a need, but we have a bad taste in our mouth, or I've been trying to do this by myself, but you reach a point where you can't scale,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like I'm too distracted with content. So fortunately for us, because we know what we're doing and we have been established in the space and worked with some great creators, we're constantly like getting more creators that are interested in working with us. So
Oh, awesome.
which is exciting because like we get to handpick who we work with, which we're pretty selective, because I like to work with people that flow well
Mhm.
with me,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like I don't like the like abrasive, and like that's kind of like one of the like the darks. I don't know if it's a dark side, but like I've
Yeah.
literally had to drop creators because I'm like, we just don't work well. And like I love you and you great content, all this stuff, but like the flow is not there. And we need a
Yeah.
flow, because in order for us to be happy and you to be happy, we need to have some synergies. And sometimes it's not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And that's the bane of working with clients.
yeah,
I love clients.
yeah,
I love my clients too,
yeah,
right? But one of the downsides is sometimes you have to say this isn't working,
yeah.
and this isn't how I work. I want to work in a cohesive relationship.
Yep.
And so you have to step back a little and
Yeah, it's like a
yeah.
little bit of a breakup and it sucks, but
Yeah.
I
Nobody
think
likes breakup.
yeah, nobody likes it.
Well, sometimes. Sometimes you like a breakup.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But so we're fortunate in the fact that we have enough creators that are interested in working with us that we can be more like, how is this going to work, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes we'll go on, well, almost all the time we go on trial periods with creators, unless we've been familiar with them for a while and we've warmed up to each other, we know how each other works, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
come on board, like we already know how this works. Um, and so very excited about all the clients we're working with. On the brand side, one in particular, it's not a done deal, but it is in like I'm trying to think of like a generality of how to describe it.
Yeah.
It's in the apparel world, right? But it's a
Okay.
very well established brand in the apparel, kind of functional apparel
Yeah.
world. If I said the name, everyone would just know that fast, because it's a
Yeah.
really cool brand. It's something that the creators that they're interested in working with, the creators are stoked out of their minds. They're like, "Are you serious?
Oh,
Like, this
that's
is
awesome.
cool." I'm stoked out of my minds because I love the brand, right? So it's one of those things where, and they just had a really cool kind of proof of concept. They haven't dove into the influencer world a ton, but they did. This will kind of give you more of a hint as far as I'll go. But they just did an activation at Stagecoach, a really cool activation at Stagecoach,
Oh,
the
cool. Let
the
me Google
Coachella.
it
Yeah, I know,
really
right? You're gonna, let's
fast,
just find the
right?
brands
Yeah.
there.
Let me
But
see. And just list them
you
for the
just
remaining time. I just
blink.
list every last one of them. Blink if that's them.
Yep.
Uh,
It's but Stagecoach it's like the country Coachella, right? And
yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's a lot of creators, a lot of influencers that go there just to post content, or because it's, I want to go to Stagecoach just because I love country music. I mean, I live in the flipping country, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
normal thing. But I've always loved country music, so I'm like, this sounds cool. But when they were there, they had every creator that was there like dying. Like they were like, this is
Wow.
so sick. I want to work with you, bro. And he's like, the guy that's running it, he's like, everyone needs to calm down. Like this is like our first foray into like doing something in this realm.
Yeah.
And so now they're like, okay, how do we scale this? Because clearly there's like, overflowing interest in
Yeah.
working with us, which is really cool, because they've been more of a like a traditional brand in that sense, right? Like, and they have
Mm.
like one way they've done it, they've done really well, but they're like, okay, what's the next level up? And I think this is it. So very excited about that. We have some cool, unique because they want to go big, and so we have some
Okay.
really fun, cool projects that are out there a little bit, but they're excited. I love those ones, like the
I'm gonna
ones that
pry
are,
these
yeah.
out of you. I swear. After this,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pry this out of
Yes.
you. He brought an NDA.
Yeah.
Don't worry. If this brand is is watching, he brought an NDA.
Yeah,
Not really. I won't. I
I
won't
have it
quote you.
under the
Yeah,
seat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Tucked away somewhere.
But
Sorry,
that,
I interrupted.
no, that's good. Yeah, no. So that's an exciting one. One that I love that I did last year was actually working with Red Bull, and it
Oh,
wasn't
awesome.
just like a standard. Again, I like the unique activations, the ones, because I have a marketing mind, and you want to go big, like you love. There we go.
The
We're talking
intensity.
intense.
We're getting
Yeah.
intense now.
But you like marketers and creative people in general have like that. Does I feel like it's built in where you just want to like do cool, like not run of the mill stuff. Like that's important, but like there's
Oh,
the
yeah.
big projects you start salivating, right? And so last year we did one with Red Bull, where it was Red Bull Can You Make It? And it's an event they haven't done in like 5 years. Um, and so what they did is it's kind of like a Amazing Race, if you like are familiar with that show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they had these contestants that would start all over in Europe in different countries, and the end point was Berlin, Germany. And so they had to race to get there. But the only way that they like the only currency they could exchange was Red Bull cans.
Oh,
So yeah,
wow.
so it was a
Okay.
play on can you make it? And so they had to exchange, hey, can I get a ride? Here's a Red Bull, like that kind of stuff. And then there were challenges
That's
along
cool.
the way to collect like points and also more cans. So you
Oh,
like
okay.
collect more currency. So it's like, hey, do you go bungee jumping? Do you go skydiving? Do this many like X challenges, so it was a really cool thing. But I was able to coordinate with that with a really big travel creator, and he was actually kind of this like the host of it. So he was like,
Oh, that's
welcoming
cool.
him to the finish line, and he did an after show with the creator. It was really, really cool. And
That's
that was a
cool.
fun one. Yeah.
I would make it about 20
Yeah.
miles, and
See,
I would try to get a ride, and
yeah.
people would be like,
You're like, nah, we're
"Nah, I
good.
don't
Yeah.
like the way you
See, I would
look."
just run out because I'd drink the
It's
Red Bulls. I'd be like,
yeah.
oh, I gotta drink this. I need the energy.
Well, you take the
Yeah.
cans. I mean, it's empty, but you could exchange it
Yeah,
for
it's
like
10
5 cents,
cents.
right?
Yeah,
10.
something
Yeah,
like
it's
that,
something.
depending on where you're at.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, won't make it very far.
But
Maybe.
that was a cool project too. So
That's
those are
cool.
the types of things I like doing, but I also like really get satisfaction out
Mhm.
of helping creators just grow and make this their profession. So that's another thing. Like
Awesome.
I love projects, but it's also appreciative. It's like I'm wanting to be just a creator. That's all I can do
Yeah.
because of YZ, whether it's this is something I'm passionate about, more time with family because there's more flexibility in being a creator, and
Yeah.
that
I like that.
marketing in general has more flexibility. So it's very fulfilling for me to help people reach those kind of goals too, and
Mhm.
especially when they're like very, very grateful for it. It's like,
Yeah.
because I mean, you think about it, most people, if you can make 10 grand a month, that's crazy. 10 grand a
Oh,
month
yeah.
filming content, that's so awesome.
They're happy.
Yeah,
I
and they're
mean, 10K.
stoked.
That's
And it's usually,
yeah.
people that have like normal traditional jobs where it's like 10K a month, like that's a good paying job.
Yeah.
And so for you to be able to do that just by making content you're enjoying, and it's also so flexible, I'm like, there's no trade-off. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible, especially, 10K that replaces somebody's job or at
Yep.
least comes close,
Yep.
right? If depending on where they're comfortable,
Yeah.
right? But 10K is enough to be able to step away from, say, a full-time job
Yep.
and be able to focus on that creative aspect
Well, then you
on
open up more
creation.
money because you're
Yeah.
be able to only do the content, and you can do more, and you can do more volume and quality. So no, that's also very fulfilling. I love that
Wow.
so much when it's like, oh my gosh, like this is I never would have thought that I would have gotten paid this for just making a video or making posts or things like that, right?
Wow.
Those are my favorite creators to work with.
That's awesome. Let's talk after.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's get this rolling. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Hey,
There we
there they
go.
are. I don't know why we chose the motion censored room of all
Maybe I
places.
just need to like make big motions. I'm already
Yeah.
making motions, but maybe just make them bigger. I don't
Yeah. Well, it's just for the
know.
effect.
Yes.
It's really for the emotion.
Keeps you on your
And
toes. I like it. The visual aspect of
there
it.
we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's
All done.
perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Well, cool. So tell me what's next for you. You're growing
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
fast too.
Yep.
What's next for you guys though?
So for one of the things like as a business owner that you focus on is like I said, what's next, but
Mhm.
also there has to be some kind of like whether it's an exit or a you know what I mean, like some kind
Yeah.
of strategy or endpoint. But to do that, in my mind, you need something tangible, something
Mhm.
proprietary, right? So one of the things we're working on is like building out proprietary systems that are real, like actual tangible things that become assets.
Yeah.
Because there are, I mean, there's big fish in this pond. Like I said, there's a lot of like low barrier to entry, but there's also really big fish in this pond. Like you
Oh
have
yeah.
like the classic like the WME or the CAAs that represent Hollywood, and
Who?
then they yeah, no,
Just kidding. Those guys are
they're
huge, by the way.
massive,
Massive.
and they're like the just legacy type agencies, right?
Yeah.
Where they're repping. I mean, when you go through their rosters, it's like, oh, George Clooney, okay, like you know what? And
I
that's
think I've heard of him
yeah, I know,
once or
right? I'm
twice.
trying to
Yeah.
think of who. What's the girl that plays Wednesday? I feel like that's more real. It's like
Oh,
George Clooney's like a little bit back.
Ortega. Is it Jenny Ortega?
Yes,
Oh,
Jenny, Jenna. Oh, we're gonna,
Jenna.
yeah,
Jenna.
yeah, Jenna, or we're gonna get
Or
destroyed.
we're butchering this, and we're gonna get destroyed in the comments.
Yes,
But
it's
hey,
very
that's
bad.
okay. I've
Yeah,
never seen it.
but
I've never seen
it's
Wednesday.
good.
I
It's so
have.
good.
I'm totally
So
lying
good. I
right
just
now.
said that. No,
Oh
but
no, that was just for the effect.
there we go. It's
That
good.
was yeah.
But I mean, those are the people that are on their rosters, right? And so
Yeah.
you have these big fish, but they also do a lot of acquisitions. I mean, I keep track of when they're buying these agencies, but it's like one of the things in common is that they don't just have like an exclusive roster, but they have tangible assets that come with them.
Yeah.
And I think like an exit strategy is not like the only option, right? Like there is an option that like in my head too, I'm just probably naive enough to think like I could get to that level. Why not? Like I'm cool enough that I could be a CAA at some point, and like either that or they'll try and squish me like Amazon does to other little brands. But
Everybody.
everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm like in my head, I'm like, and exit's not the only option, right? Like you could
Yeah.
grow it to that level and just kind of expand the team and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different, but that's what's on my mind right now is creating more tangible assets and things that are going to maximize our effectiveness and our time, and so we can put more especially into the relationships with the creators. That's
Definitely.
so beneficial where I can get on a phone with a creator and talk things out with them, talk about like their latest video and be like, hey, a lot of creators will ask, hey, what can I improve? What
Yeah.
like was that a good video? Like how can we make it better? How can we make the views, the click through, all that different stuff better?
I love those kinds of creators, by
Oh
the
yeah.
way.
It's
Like we've got 1,500 podcasts.
Yeah.
And my favorite podcasts are the ones that are like, okay, hey, how did that one go?
Yeah.
Did I do okay?
Yeah.
And I guarantee they're going to come back to me after they see this and be like, so these are my talking points. This is where you could have improved.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
go through. But I love people like that because they're constantly looking at improving.
Yeah. When they're
And,
genuine when they ask, because there's some creators like, "What'd you
Yeah.
think of the video?" And I'm like, knowing you, like, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, it was good, dude." Like every time, like, great video, bro. Like, but it's like the ones that are genuine, like, no, like, tell me where did I suck and like how can I do better? What do you think I can do? I just had lunch with a awesome creator last week, and it was like 2 hours of just where are the holes? Like, I want to like I'm here and I want to level up. Where are the
Yeah.
holes? And be honest, be real. I don't care. It's not gonna hurt my feelings because the only way to grow is to like understand where the holes are. And
I
so
love
those are I love those creators. Like they genuinely want
Right.
feedback. And then all of a sudden you have a deep relationship because there's that trust when it's like, okay, I'll be honest with you. And then,
Yeah.
sometimes they're like, I don't see that. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Maybe I'm wrong. But then there's other times like, oh yeah, I'll try and swap that next time.
Yeah. I love the reception of the feedback.
Yeah.
Right. When people are open to receiving feedback or are open to recommendations, like, hey, your dropped off about minute 5.
Yeah.
Right. This is how we could potentially loop people in through a hook or through offering additional value or something like that, where,
Yeah.
maybe you're leading into something else
Get a
to get them over.
re-engagement type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you want people to stay on as long as possible because YouTube is looking at that. They're
Yeah.
looking at everything else. And I'm not just saying YouTube, right?
Everywhere. Like it's
Everywhere. Yeah.
attention is the currency, right? So it's like
Yep.
the longer you can hold attention, the more valuable it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that is your currency.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of these people get paid, at least,
Oh,
plus the brands
100%.
and everything else.
Yeah,
So,
it's insane. Even the streaming platforms, they're fighting for your attention, and it's it makes me laugh when we're watching like Netflix, and it's like, "Are you still watching?" I'm like, "You should not ask that, but just let me keep watching." You know what I mean? Like it's like if you have my attention, or if you're playing, just let it play. Like
yeah. I mean, you don't want to pry yourself from. Well,
No,
in
we've been
my case,
watching what Lego Masters. I don't even know if that's on Netflix, but it's
oh,
the competition where they build insane Lego things.
oh man, 7-year-old me is
Oh,
screaming right now.
shoot. Dude, literally my 7-year-old is like, "Can I watch the next episode?" And I'm like, "Dude,
Do it.
two is enough. Like let's wait till tomorrow."
Or you're into it.
Oh,
I can see you
100%.
being
Yeah.
into this and being like, yeah, you can watch that.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Fine. I guess you can watch
Yeah,
another
we're
one.
at the now that he's 7, we're at the level we have those big buckets of Legos where it's like you
Yeah.
build a set and then after a while you're like, break them up and then you can build it. Like that's where we're at. But when I was a kid, dude, we had buckets of it. Like it was, my parents
Yeah.
still have them up in the, when they come over, they have them in the playroom to where they, there we
Uh,
go.
this is the
This is
intensity.
the intense part of the
Yeah,
Legos.
the
But
Legos.
you know, they, I mean, it's fantastic. But yeah, that's like
Yeah,
attention is the currency, right? Like
it
that's
is.
just, it is what it is. And we have, I think money, when you think about money, everyone's like, oh, money, currency, right? You can always
Right.
make more money. That's my financial plan, by the way, is like just make more money. That's literally
Yeah.
my strategy.
Mine too,
Yeah, it's
actually.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
this is a problem. Let's make more money. Like, let's just bury it in money and eventually it'll get there. That's my financial strategy, which is horrible. I should probably come up with a better investment strategy.
I should probably come up with another one
Yeah,
too.
it's
I
bad.
have no excuse.
But you can always make more money, right? Like there's
Mhm.
not like a limit to that, but we only have X amount of waking hours in a day.
Yeah.
Every single day it's the same, and we can't expand that unless we get less sleep, and then it's not a good idea. So it's like on average we only have X amount of waking hours in a day, and we only have X amount of time in a day. So it's like
Yeah.
when someone picks to watch a YouTube video, especially, you know, a 20-minute YouTube video, that's such a valuable space for like
It is.
promotion or anything, right? For your, for the creator's brand, for a brand that's sponsoring that piece of content, because for them to spend that 20 minutes, there's a reason why we say spend time, right?
Yeah.
They are spending that 20 minutes on that YouTube video. That's super, super valuable. And the fact that they pick that over, I can't even remember the number. It's some insane amount of videos that get uploaded per day on
Oh,
YouTube.
uh, i-
It's crazy.
is YouTube? I'm trying to remember if YouTube is still the largest, like above Google, or if TikTok has like
That's a good
started to
question.
creep
Yeah.
in, right?
Yeah.
But those videos, the content, how you structure with the content creators, how you structure some of their videos and everything else, really determines what kind of traffic YouTube is going to send
Oh,
to those
100%.
videos.
Yeah.
Same with all of the platforms,
Yep.
right?
And
They
that's
really
why
do.
creators get obsessed, like you said, with the analytics and stuff like that,
Yeah,
because it's like, how do I get more clicks, more eyeballs? How do I keep, like YouTube says, like, hey, you have one of the core metrics is you have X amount of your audience still watching after 30 seconds. Like that's
yeah,
something creators watch a lot. It's like, how do I increase that retention? Like there's all the, but again, it's attention's the currency there. And so it's
yeah.
like, that's why on the back end, the YouTube studio, creators who are succeeding or who find that growth are the ones who are obsessed with that, because you
Sure.
can kind of analyze and say, okay, like I need a better hook. I need, you know, I need to keep like a re-engagement. I need to do this. I need to have a better storyline, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's a lot of strategy. Like people, it's so funny. People think like, oh, you just post a picture or post a video. And I'm like,
No.
no, not like you
Good
can.
luck.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean, you can. You
there's
can
there's
try.
no one's preventing you
Yeah.
from doing that. But like when you have to, I mean, some of these creators, it's really like a much harder job than what if they just
Yeah.
took a normal job, because they're obsessing about it 24/7. Another thing is if you're sick or you're just not in the mood, it's hard to be creative. Like really, really hard to create like a good storyline and be creative. And they have to push through that. And it's not
Yeah.
like you can just take a sick day because you know people are expecting content. It's so
I
it's
just
a
don't feel like it
yeah, it's like
today.
sorry, I'm not feeling up to it. And it's like that's again, there's trade-offs, and that's one of the kind of the downsides of it is like, no,
Yeah.
you are in the content business. Like this, you gotta push through. Like, and it's hard.
Yeah, you've just got to keep on continuing pushing. And I know for me, like with the podcast side, right?
Yeah.
I kind of went a different route, but the fundamentals are still similar.
Yep.
They're adjacent, I
Yep.
guess I should say, because I won't compare directly. Where whether I'm sick, whether I have the flu, whether I have laryngitis, guess
Yep.
what I'm doing? Guess what my hosts are doing? They're still hopping on
Yep.
those interviews.
Oh, 100%.
And I always recommend, hey, put together a list of content ideas and guests that correlate with those content ideas. And as long as it jives, as long as both parties are, okay with it and everything else, then move forward with it.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to think so deeply
Hmm.
about, well, what am I going to make this theme about?
Yep.
Right? It's there, it's built in. Of course, there's a lot of work that goes in on the
Oh,
back end,
yeah,
guys.
there's so much.
It's I'm oversimplifying
Yeah.
everything.
But that's good.
But
Like
yeah,
when you're like, especially that's such a good hack is when you, because you'll find like you're in like a creative flow every now and again. It's like
yeah,
grab hold of that, and like that's so smart. You're like as many things you can think of, take that creative time and maximize it, because sometimes there are times where you're like, I got nothing. Like
yeah,
I
yeah. Well, even last week, right? Was it last week that you were on the screen test
yeah, I think it was
interview?
a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. I had a flu. I don't know if you could tell.
Power. You did good. I did not know. Yeah.
Oh, but you push through, you
Yeah.
power through, and you create the content,
Yep.
and then we test our audiences like crazy,
Yeah.
right? To determine who people want to hear from,
Yeah.
right? And you came up at the very top,
That's good.
right?
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
no, thank you. I certainly appreciate it. But you can't exactly take a week off
No, and if you
without
do,
losing things.
you pay for it.
Yeah.
And that's why like having a pipeline is also nice, right? Like you
Mhm.
have, that's I think something in common in the podcast space is having a pipeline to
Yeah.
give you a little insurance from that stuff. I mean, even, creators on like YouTube, Instagram, like they will have a pipeline. And typically they're just constantly filling that, if it's a 1 to 2 week thing, they're just always like refilling that. But in the case that you have like the flu and you're like, look, I'm down,
Yeah.
but I have a little bit of padding to where I can take a few days to just like not deal with it. And so I can get past this and then like refill the pipeline. Right. So that's
Yeah.
also a really, really smart strategy. But again, that comes with planning. And that's another, like, I think that's
Yeah.
another commonality between successful creators is that there's planning. There's like forward thinking to where you have a pipeline because then you can like for if like a video project, maybe something gets thrown into the mix, like there's something goes wrong or you can't get something for the content itself, like you have more time to make it
Yeah.
happen, versus like you're always everything's on fire and you're trying to get something done, and then like the content sometimes you can feel it in the content where it's like, ooh, this was kind of rushed.
Oh,
Like
yeah. You
it's
can tell because
yeah.
then it's kind of pieced together.
Uh-huh.
It's just like a
Yeah.
stitched together somehow, but it's not really fully coherent, if
Yeah,
that makes
and then you're
sense.
just flustered. You can tell, like, yeah, you're a little bit
Yeah.
like you're all over the place. So I think that's another key, like, thing that we try and help with creators with is planning. And
Mm.
like, from a brand sponsorship perspective, like we're trying to plan 2 months out to where it's like we have everything laid out. We have like a system that's already built where they can go in and they can see like, oh, okay, these are our brand sponsors. I know what's coming. And a lot of times they'll try and build it into the content itself, which is cool because then it does better in general. Like you'll see
Yeah.
less of a drop off on the retention graph. But like that future planning, but also we try and have a calendar where it's like, hey, even a high level concept, so we can sell against that because
Mhm.
sometimes specific brands are like, hey, what's the content about?
Yeah.
And we can tell them, oh, this is the overview of it, and this is how we see you fit into the content. And so that's also very helpful. And the brands love that, the creators love that, because then again, they're not pulling their hair out trying to be like, what are we filming today or tomorrow or this week or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and then you can build that into, say, a portfolio if you
Mhm.
wanted to be able to bring on more sponsors.
Yep.
Like, hey, this is how the creators will of human data. Like, this is how our creators function. Is they're video, they're really shaping it in a way that's going to be appealing for your audience.
Yep.
And then we versions that come
Way
from
better
it.
conversions. You
So
see, like, it just from this is just my perspective, just it's nothing backed by data, at least. I mean, I'm sure I
yeah.
could find the data, but this is just me, like,
Your disclosure.
yeah, this is yeah, I'm sure there's data there, but this is just me like saying this. But
Yeah.
like the level of like renewals for brand sponsorships and partnerships
Mm,
is way higher for the creators we work with that build things into the storyline, because you
yeah.
almost can't like go around the sponsor content because it is in the storyline. So you have to watch it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things where you can't brand placements in movies, right? Like you can't fast forward if there's like they're going to a Walmart or something. It's part of the
Yeah.
storyline. And
Yeah.
like Walmart probably paid, at least back in the day, they would pay for the the placement, the
Like a
ad
lot of
placements,
money.
a lot of
Yeah.
money.
Millions of
Yeah,
dollars.
and it's
Yeah.
like, but you can't go around that because it's part of the storyline. And
Yeah.
so if you take that, I always, this is another thing I tell creators in general, is that Hollywood's been around for such a long time for a reason. They have a formula, they have things that they do. And yeah, there's things that need updating, and that's kind of where like disruption from YouTube and other creators comes
Yeah.
into space. But there's a lot of things that they do that we can take from and learn from, and that's like integrating sponsorships into the content. Like
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
fast forward a movie that has a brand placement because you're going to miss part of the storyline. You'd be like, what was the conversation, right? Like,
Yeah. You just fast forward through that section
yeah,
and then you're lost.
and you have no
Yeah.
idea. So that's like, it's almost like you've not forced, but you make it so it becomes part of the story. And that's
Yeah.
a brilliant thing. But there's a lot of lessons you can take. You could do a whole podcast on like the lessons you can take from Hollywood, because they are master storytellers.
I
And
would
like,
gladly
yeah.
do that podcast. because it is intricate.
Yeah,
There's so many details and so
gosh.
much history
When
with it.
they just have time on their side. They've been
Yeah.
around for so long that they've been able to see what doesn't work, and they do it on a massive scale, right? When I see movie budgets still, and I'm like,
How?
300 million? Who has 300 million and who's getting this money? Like that's crazy. And then like most of the time it's like, oh, it only made 180. And I'm like, who's affording 120 mil loss? Like,
No big deal.
yeah, and
No big deal.
it's crazy, but like I mean, they just have the money to funnel it in there. But like another thing is like movie posters. I talk about movie posters with creators a lot because
Like that.
title and thumbnail on YouTube matters. Like
Oh, it's huge.
huge. And I say, go study movie posters because especially back like even 10 years ago, that was how like that was a major part of what made you want to watch a movie is if like when you saw a movie
Yeah.
poster or that was the thumbnail for the movie.
Yeah.
And so you kind of look at it and be like, how did they structure this to tell a story in a single frame that's like appealing enough that it draws me, but it's not too much overwhelming where I'm like, that looks messy, I don't want it. But I'm like, that's another massive thing. Movie posters. And then I was actually had this realization just like a month ago. Board games. Like board
Oh
games is another
yeah.
when you go to Target and like it's literally like YouTube, like the YouTube homepage in a board game shelf because you look at it and they're all competing for you to buy them, right?
Yeah.
But they have to communicate what the board game is in one image on front, and you have to understand. And it's fun to do that, like to look at it and be like, which ones am I drawn to? And it's most likely because you understand what the game is just from shooting of the
It is. I have a friend who made a video or not a video game, a board game.
Yeah.
Poopocalypse. On the cover. It's a fun game. Really fun,
Yeah.
right? Johnny did a great job with that, but it's definitely a testament to selling through compelling messaging.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's nothing quite like that.
Yeah. I mean, you see the
know.
title of the board game and you're like, I'm intrigued. Like, what is
I kind of want to play it, and I'm kind of grossed out, but I
Yeah.
also am really intrigued.
Yeah, well,
right
there's
now,
that other game called
right?
like Throw Burrito. I don't know if you ever played that. I've played that
never
with my
played that.
kids, where it's like literally, I think it's like a card game, and you have two foam burritos, and when you like get a certain, you like literally throw the burrito at like, and you get a point or something like that. Like, I'm like, but
I'd be in
yeah,
so much trouble
oh,
if I did that as a kid. My brother and sister would have been pegged right in the head.
uh-huh,
It was so fast,
and then it
so
escalates.
fast.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, so fast. It would turn into frozen burritos. I'll put it that way. It would be fun. Oh hey, there's the lights. The intensity just
lightened up.
let
Green.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're no longer as intense now, guys. So, well, fantastic. Hey, thank you so much for coming by.
yeah,
It was
absolutely.
great to have you. Steven Sear from.
Pain one.
There we go. Thanks. I gotta do this part manually.
Oh, that's fun. You shut her down.